Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. The morning sun barely crept over the skyline of Genoa City as Victor sat in the leather chair of his sprawling office, eyes narrowed and jaw clenched. Across from him, Kane stood still, arms folded tightly as he tried to maintain his composure. The tension in the room was thick. Victor leaned forward. I assume you understand the terms, Kane. Sign over Enterprises and I'll release Lily and the twins. I want proof they're safe first, Kane shot back, his voice cold but trembling slightly. You expect me to just trust you? Victor smirked, a cold glint flashing in his eye. You think you're in a position to negotiate? Kane's hands clenched into fists at his side. Victor was right, he didn't have leverage, but he wasn't willing to roll over either, not yet. Unbeknownst to them, Summers was listening. From a nearby suite in the same building, she had set up surveillance just in time to catch the end of the heated exchange. Billy sat beside her, rubbing his hands together as he watched the feed. We do this now, whispered. Victor got Kane backed into a corner. We'll make our move while they're both too distracted. Billy, let's pull the rug out from both of them. They moved quickly. Billy had already coordinated with a contact at the corporate registrar's office. With a few strokes of a pen, a clause uncovered in the merger contracts would render Kane's authority invalid unless contested within 24 hours, which neither Kane nor Victor knew about, and Billy wasn't planning on giving them that chance. Meanwhile, Sharon stood alone outside the police station, the cold wind tugging at her coat. Her heart pounded. She hadn't slept. The guilt, heavy and unrelenting, was eating her alive. Her daughter, her baby, missing with winters in tow. She could still hear the voicemails, the ones left weeks ago begging her to visit in Boston, but Sharon had stayed in Los Angeles beside Noah's hospital bed. How could she have known? A door opened behind her. Detective Burrow stepped out. Sharon turned quickly, hope flashing across her face. Any word? Burrow shook his head, his expression grim. We're tracking leads, but nothing concrete yet. We've expanded the search radius. We'll find them. Sharon silently, but her mind replayed breakdown over and over again. She had been struggling for months, isolating, snapping at friends, distancing herself from Tessa. Sharon saw the signs, she just hadn't acted fast enough. Back at the offices, Kane's temper flared as Victor continued his stance. Do you want your family back or not? Victor growled. Sign the damn papers. You're a monster, Kane spat, grabbing the pen anyway. You don't care about anyone but yourself. As he scribbled his name on the document, the door slammed open. In walked and Billy, holding a folder between them. Stop the presses, announced. That deal you're finalizing, it's dead. Victor stood slowly. What the hell are you two doing? Billy grinned, taking back what should never been handed to Kane in the first place. Kane's brow furrowed as he flipped open the folder. What is this? A retroactive override said. According to this clause, your authority as owner of enterprises can be revoked if there's evidence of misconduct and a joint claim from two senior board members. Victor's eyes darkened. This is nonsense, you fabricated this. Actually, Victor smiled, you signed this into the merger document yourself. Don't act so surprised. You thought it was just another protective clause, never thought it would come back to bite you. Billy looked at Kane. As of this moment you're out, you have no legal right to hand anything over. You're playing a dangerous game, Victor warned, voice low. Leaned in, you'd know, Victor, you invented it. Kane's fists balled again, his entire face flushed with rage and disbelief. You're using my family as leverage. And you were about to cave, Billy interrupted. We just stopped you from making the biggest mistake of your life. Back at home, Sharon's thoughts spiraled as she sifted through old text messages and photos of the sweet, funny girl she raised seemed so far gone now. What happened to the light in her eyes? When did the switch flip? She thought about just a baby. How scared must he be? Her phone buzzed. It was Devon's. Anything, she asked, breath held. Still nothing, Devon said, voice shaking. We're doing everything we can, Sharon. I know, she whispered. I keep thinking I should gone to her, maybe if I had. It's not your fault, Devon replied, though he didn't sound convinced. Needs help, we all missed it. Sharon closed her eyes and let the tears fall. I'm so sorry, Devon. Victor returned to the ranch fuming. The entire deal had collapsed in front of him. Not only had and Billy him, but Kane had turned into dead weight, stripped of authority and power in a matter of minutes. We'll regret this, Victor muttered, pouring himself a drink. But was celebrating. She and Billy clinked glasses at Society, watching as the news ticker scrolled across the screen behind them. Enterprises under emergency review. We did it, Billy said. It's not over, replied, but we bought ourselves time and a seat at the table. Sharon sat in her dark living room later that night at the silent television screen. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown numbers. She picked up, heart racing. Hello. The line crackled, then she heard it. Mom. It was. Sharon froze, breath caught in her throat. Where are you? Are you okay? But's voice was shaky, disoriented. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I needed him, I needed someone. Please listen to me, Sharon said slowly. You need to come back, let us help you, you're not alone. I can't, said, they'll take him from me. Sharon swallowed back tears. Honey, he's not yours, I know you love him, but he belongs with Devon and... A long silence followed. I don't know what to do, whispered. Sharon tried to stay calm. Tell me where you are. Click, the line went dead. Sharon clutched the phone to her chest, whispering a silent prayer. It was the first sign of life from her daughter and the confirmation that was alive. Now they just had to find them. Detective Burrow returned her call within minutes and a trace began. Sharon's voice shook as she recounted the call, desperate to remember every sound in the background, every word. I heard maybe seagulls and a boat horn, she said. Could she be near the coast? Burrow, that narrows it, we'll work fast. While Sharon clung to the hope that her daughter could be saved, Victor worked behind the scenes to rebuild control. He made several calls, strategic, surgical moves. He would not allow this humiliation to stand. And across town, Billy knew the storm they'd stirred wasn't done, but for now they had the advantage, and in Genoa City that meant everything. Sharon couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made her flinch. Every gust of wind felt like a whisper from the past. She sat curled up in the corner of the couch, clutching her phone as if her life depended on it. Had called, that meant she was still reachable, but now she was out there alone, with... The police were triangulating the signal. Detective Burrow had brought in tech specialists and dispatched units to likely coastal areas. They were focusing on old harbors, small marinas, forgotten shore towns where a woman and a baby could disappear for days without anyone noticing. And still, the guilt twisted inside Sharon like a knife. She should gone to Boston. She should dropped everything and flown to her daughter. Meanwhile was holed up in a tiny, worn-out beach shack somewhere outside of Sag Harbor. Her hands trembled as she wrapped in a worn blanket, rocking him gently while whispering lullabies. Her mind raced, a storm of panic, paranoia, and misplaced protectiveness. She loved this baby, she had carried him, and now every in her broken mind screamed that letting him go would destroy her. I'm not a monster, she murmured to herself, kissing's forehead. I'm his mother too. But even she wasn't fully convinced anymore. Across town, Victor sat in his study, speaking into the phone with a calm but commanding tone. We neutralize Billy and I want every back channel used. Pull board records, financial ties, anything we can use to expose them. His contact on the other end. Already, there's chatter about some shaky moves Billy made with the Chancellor assets. Exploit it, Victor ordered. Billy will regret interfering with business. Victor ended the call and poured himself another scotch. The game was far from over. At Society, Billy, and were less smug than the night before, was starting to feel the weight of what they'd set in motion. Victor, not going to let this go, she said. Let him come, Billy replied. This is our chance to finally prove we can do more than survive. We take control. Sighed, we just ripped a legacy empire apart. If we don't play this right, it won't be Victor who buries us. It'll be the entire board. Their phones buzzed almost in sync, an alert breaking news. Enterprises hit with leadership crisis, board meeting called for emergency vote. Paled, they're voting today. Billy scrolled, Victor must have pulled strings, that meeting wasn't supposed to happen for another week. Stood, then we'd better get there first. At Devon's penthouse, watched as he paced back and forth, barely pausing to sip his coffee. I should gone to the press sooner, he muttered. The public might recognize she could be out there needing help. Tried to comfort him. She's scared, she's not trying to hurt Dom, she's just not well. Devon stopped packing and looked at her. I know, but I can't sleep knowing my son is out there with someone who's unraveling. Then the door rang. It was Sharon, her eyes were puffy, her hands shaking. She called me, Sharon said breathlessly. She called and I heard seagulls, it sounded like boats. Devon jumped to his feet. That's something, that's good. She hung up before I could get more, Sharon continued, but the detectives are narrowing it down. Please tell me you'll let me come with you when they find her. Of course, Devon said, we'll all go. By the time the boardroom filled up for the emergency meeting, the atmosphere was electric with uncertainty. Every chair was filled, murmurs and whispers bouncing off the marble walls. Billy and entered like a storm, striding straight to the head of the table. You have no authority to be here, Victor growled from across the room. Slammed a folder on the table. We have more than authority, we have evidence. Evidence that Kane tried to hand over to you under duress, and evidence that you orchestrated a deal with a man whose ownership had already been legally voided. The board members began flipping through the pages of the dossier. Billy added, what you're seeing are the contracts. The clause uncovered gives us standing to reclaim temporary control. Until an independent review is completed, we propose a vote to place enterprises under a three-way stewardship. Three-way, one member asked, between who? Myself, Billy said, then turned to the room, and one neutral party, Jill. There were gasps, even Victor stiffened at the name. You're out of your mind, he said. The room buzzed with debate. Board members argued, but the legitimacy of the documents left many of them stunned. Victor's own signature on key amendments couldn't be denied. Despite his reputation, even he couldn't spin his way out of ink on paper. Back on the coastal highway, a patrol car slowed as they approached a dilapidated shed near the dunes. It matched the aerial scans Detective Burrow had reviewed, and the signal had pinged nearby. Sharon, sitting in the back seat of the second vehicle with Devon, and recognized the mailbox. That's it, she said. I know that number. She stayed there once before with Tessa on a writing retreat. The officers moved in carefully. Sharon followed at a distance, her heart in her throat. Inside the shack was humming softly when the knock came. She froze. Her voice called, "It's me, it's Mum, please open the door." Backed away, tears streaming down her face, whimpered in her arms. "Baby, I'm right here, you don't have to be afraid." She unlocked the door slowly, trembling. Sharon stepped in carefully, her eyes locking on her daughter's tear-streaked face. "You're okay, you're safe now." "I didn't mean to hurt anyone, I thought I could fix everything by keeping him close." Devon appeared behind Sharon, his voice cracking. "Please, let me hold my son." She looked down kissing him one last time before holding him out. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Devon took the baby and cradled him tightly. Followed and her anger dissolving into shared sorrow. Back at the boardroom, the vote came in. It wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. Victor was temporarily suspended from executive authority. Billy and Jill would lead a transitional team until a final audit could determine long-term leadership. Victor stood composed but seething. "You've made a grave mistake." "Didn't flinch, we made a choice to protect the company from your games." As the room cleared, Victor lingered out the tall glass windows. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Later that evening, Sharon sat at home with beside her wrapped in a blanket on the couch, was back with Devon and safe and smiling, but the scars of what happened remained. "I don't know what's wrong with me," whispered. "I was just so lost." "We'll get help," Sharon said. "You're not alone in this." Leaned against her mother's shoulder, the warmth of family surrounding her once again. At the same time, Billy and stood on the balcony of Chancellor Tower, looking over the city they had shaken to its core. "You think we've won?" asked. Billy shook his head. "No, but we've changed the game." They stood together, knowing full well that tomorrow would bring more chaos, but for tonight the city was theirs.